What habits do you need to adopt in order to build the life you want? Hi, my name is David, and in this video, I'm going to show you the 7 habits that have helped me basically recreate my life over the last 18 months. These all come straight from my new book, Habits That Change Your Life. A little over a year ago, I was in a really unhealthy place. I weighed about 25 pounds less than I do now. I was at a job I couldn't stand, and I felt like I had lost all control over my life and the direction it was heading. But thankfully, I came across some amazing resources like Leo Babauta's blog Zen Habits, and little by little, I started to move my life in the direction I wanted it to go. Fast forward to today, I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I get to work from home as a full-time writer, and I get to make videos like this where I ask people like you to hit that like button. But in all seriousness, if something in your life just feels out of place, that means there's probably a habit you need to address to turn that area around and make it into what you want. And in this video, I'm going to give you the 7 different habits you can use to do just that. Habit number 1, eliminate the non-essential. So often, the reason we feel overwhelmed is because we haven't consciously filtered out all the demands that have come into our lives. As a recovering people pleaser, this is something I still struggle with. How can I be true to what I want without burning bridges along the way? I've found 2 ways to do this. First is to make your default answer to other people's requests no. Of course, you want to do this in a nice way, but your first answer should always be no, and then you can make an argument about why it should be a yes. This can be immensely helpful if you find yourself saying yes all the time. Eventually, people assume you will always answer the same way. So by beginning to say no, over time people will filter themselves out, and you won't have to say no as often. That way, you can focus on what really matters. Habit number 2 is exercise. Now, everyone knows you need to exercise, but there are a few keys that will help you do this habit more successfully. The biggest one is to choose an exercise you actually enjoy doing. I like to bike ride, lift weights, and right now my wife and I actually do CrossFit classes. It's fun. We enjoy the environment and the people, and those things help pull us in on a regular basis. If you hate running, don't run. Get on a bike or jump in a pool for a few laps. Just make exercise something you look forward to doing every day or as often as you would like. Habit number 3 is single tasking. Now, multitasking is literally one of the most unproductive things you can do, and you might even be doing it right now without knowing. Is your desk littered with random project notes? Do you have a half unplayed TED Talk on one tab, music in another, and what you're working on in yet another tab? All of these little unfinished tasks create open loops in your mind that drain away pieces of your concentration and energy. The solution is to get serious about single tasking. Pick one thing to work on and complete, and until it's done, close out every other tab, put away every other note or book, and just focus. For more on this idea, I highly recommend Cal Newport's book, Deep Work. Habit number 4 is to make shorter goals. Hands down, one of the most impactful habits I've instituted is the idea of treating my goals as though they had 12-week deadlines. When we set a goal, we usually give ourselves a pretty generous timeline, and because of that, we take action in accordance with that time frame. This is a version of Parkinson's law, which says that any task will fill up the time allotted for it. So by setting shorter time frames, you will actually accomplish just as much as you would have, if not more, in a fraction of the time. For example, I wanted to take my coaching curriculum, which I used to walk people one-on-one on how to write their first book, and turn that into a course. I knew going into 2019 that was one of my big goals, but rather than giving myself to the end of the year to do it, I gave myself the 3rd quarter, July to September, to complete it. And guess what? I finished it ahead of time. Make it a habit of setting shorter time frames around your goals, and you'll be amazed by what happens. Habit number 5 is to develop positive thinking. For this habit, what I mean is that you need to learn how to take ownership of your thoughts. Of course, you can post positive things around your walls, but in my experience, you usually need a little bit more hands-on approach. What worked for me was keeping a thought journal for about 6 months, and in this journal, I did the following steps. Step 1 is that every time I had a negative thought, usually because of something stressful happening, I would pull out the journal and describe that situation in 1 sentence. Step 2, I would write down what feeling or emotion I had because of that situation. Step 3, I would fully write out the negative thought that was in my mind at that moment. Step 4, I would identify the belief system that was making me think this way. The 5th step was a really important one, and this is where you write out how you would like to think about the situation. What could be a positive spin you could make right now? After that, take it one step further and explain how the situation could turn out positive and how being positive could actually help the situation. Finally, step 7 was to write down the feelings you have at the end of this exercise. Do you feel calmer or more optimistic? It can be a little time consuming the first few times you do it, but it is immensely helpful. If I was in a stressful situation in public, I would just find a bathroom or a quiet place where I could take 2 minutes and use my journal. Eventually, your mind will rewire itself so that positive thoughts you used to have to work to get to now become your new default. Habit number 6 is kindness. This might sound a little cheesy, but I promise you it's important. By the habit of kindness, what I mean is the habit of seeing the best in people, giving them the benefit of the doubt, and making your default reaction to others be one of genuine care. This one can also be huge if you are in business for yourself or self-employed. One of my favorite quotes that goes along with this is about humility, and it says that humility is not thinking less of yourself, but rather thinking of yourself less. I believe that is the heart of the kindness habit. When it's time to interact with others, it's important that you become other-focused. My only hack for this is to think of the kindest person you know and spend more time with them. There was a janitor at a place I used to work who was hands down the kindest, most selfless person you've ever met. People gravitated to him. And in the rare case that he asked for something, people were literally climbing over each other to help. His kindness set him apart, and you can use that too. Habit number 7 is to develop a night routine. Now there's a lot written about morning routines, and I'm sure I'll make a video about my own morning routine one day. But I don't think there's enough said about how to end your day properly. If you know how to close out your day, you're gonna get better rest, you'll feel more relaxed, and you'll have way more energy to tackle tomorrow. Right now, my night routine consists of a few things like stretching, turning off all my technology, and prepping for the next day. I highly recommend you spend some time planning out on how you can intentionally close out your day, because it will pay dividends in the long run. Now, you can go in a lot more depth about all these habits in my new book, Habits That Change Your Life. This is a compilation of some of Babauta's best writing and 20 brand new mini chapters straight from me. This book is on sale for a limited time, so grab your copy. It's such a good resource on habits and how to start moving your life in the direction you truly want. Thank you again for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. If there's a habit that has made a positive impact on your life, I'd love to know what that is, so go ahead and leave a comment below. Alright, I'll see you next time, my friend.